All right, it looks like we're live here. Uh, Everything seems to be functioning properly. So I'm just going to continue on with my testing of dwarf infantry versus high elf infantry. So I'm specifically testing every single dwarf infantry unit versus spearmen, white lions, and swordmasters of Hoeth. Really, those are the three main infantry that you're going to find against the high elves, with the main infantry really are going to be the white lions. But I want to test everything versus everything, just so maybe I'll find a few key little insights or something interesting here or there. I think we found a few interesting things against spearmen, which you do see from time to time. Although I don't think they're a real critical unit to plan for, there are units that are better and worse versus them. I think the main one are the White Lions, and so far we've seen what we would expect to see. The White Lions trade down very, very good. I haven't tested for nearly a week. I've been pretty busy, but really everything Slayers on down, the White Lions pull a ton of value. They do very, very good against them. Finally, we started getting strong results with the Grumbling Guard, who pulled 100 gold against the White Lions, and then the Hammers, who also pulled about 100 gold against the White Lions, although the Hammers do it quite a bit faster than the Grumbling Guard, finishing the average battle in 74 seconds rather than 132 seconds, or really essentially a minute faster. Although the Hammers finish with about 49% of their health left, and the Grumbling Guard with 41. So I want to finish this data set and then move on to the Swordmasters of Hoeth. So we'll go on with the Dragonback Slayers, the Giant Slayers, Ironbreakers, Peak Guard, and Norgleme's Ironbreakers. And at the end, I put down some combinations and some other things I am going to test against some of these units, namely different units with different chevron levels, different combinations of units, to see how they perform and stuff like that. So first things first, I want to finish this set of tests against the White Lions and then move on to the Swordmasters of Hoeth, and then finally I'm going to test combinations. And if you have combinations that you think are going to work good, or chevron levels, experience levels you think are going to be functional, definitely suggest them in the comments below, and I will probably give them a test. I'm just putting down some ideas that I want to test, but often I ask for comments in all my videos because I really enjoy the interaction, but I also really get good ideas too. It's fun. I mean, a good chunk of all of my videos have been just made from people suggesting things in the comments. So we'll go on to the Dragonback Slayers. I've got them queued up here. Where is it? All right. And we'll get testing. Of course, I use Pick Any General as the mod, and the Unit Testing Fields mod. Those are the two that I use, just to make the testing go fast and to be very repeatable. So for those of you who haven't watched any testing on my channel before, I'll just go a very brief description of how I do my testing and how I evaluate my results. Now, the testing I do is very, very myopic. It is the definition of quote-unquote in a vacuum. So it doesn't mean a whole lot. I mean, there's not a whole lot of information to be gained by doing this kind of testing, but there is some. And all I do is basically I don't change the formations. I just grab the unit and I make them attack each other. Now, the reasons I don't change the formations is because I have done a massive amount of formation testing. I've got some interesting data on that, and formations make a big difference between two units. But it is a consistent difference across certain elements of a unit. And really, the gist of it is, if your unit's going to win, you want it spread as wide as possible. If your unit's going to lose, you want it to engage in a narrow way as possible in general, unless there's something that's unless the two units are incredibly close and charge bonus is the difference. You might want to do the exact opposite, but it is generally that's the case. And you see really good players kind of do alter the way their units engage in that front line. Like, I know my coach or Work Boss does this all the time. And by the way, if you Work Boss is putting up a lot of videos on his channel, and I would highly encourage you to go watch his videos if you like multiplayer and you like analysis, because his analysis is extremely good. but you'll see his analysis is different than anyone's out there. And it starts with where his camera is. I mean, I don't even know if he notices it himself, but I notice it when I watch him. This is one thing I'm trying to do, is to pull my camera out further for multiplayer, but just watch where he analyzes the videos from. And he puts up live streams. Watch where he plays from. Like, he plays so he can see all the units on both armies all the time. You know, a lot of times I play this close and it's not very helpful. Anyways, so I grab the two, and whatever formation they started in, that's the one I leave in. The reason I do that is I want to be able to test them again next year or over time, and I want to be able to have those tests be the same over time. Now, if someone thinks that this is the wrong way to test, I mean, that's fine. The beauty of it is, if you think this is the wrong way to test and you think it should be with formations, at least you know that I'm doing it the same wrong way every time. And I think that's important because, you know, I know there's a lot of people who test out there, and if there's one thing, you know, testers are sort of like dwarves. I mean, you're never going to agree on the same thing, and everyone has their own way of doing it. The reason I want to make the method I use repeatable is that if you think I should test differently, at least you know that I do it the same way every time, so you can draw conclusions from my testings, even if you don't agree with the way that it's done. And, you know, like, my testing doesn't take into account things like murderous prowess for the Dark Elves, because it never actually goes off. It doesn't take into account a lot of things. It is the definition of in a vacuum. Anyways, so the first piece of data I get is I look at the time that the two units started doing damage to each other, and that is at 59:52. So I will go over to my spreadsheet, and I'll say, okay, they started at 59:52, and generally they all start at the same time. Then I'm going to let them fight. So I'm just going to hit the double fast forward and let them go at it. I would expect the Dragonback Slayers to win. You know, I don't know how much by, but the Dragonback Slayers do have that 20% physical resistance, and they have better stats than the regular Slayers. The White Lions of Trace kicked the snot out of regular Slayers, but I think the Dragonback Slayers will win. But the White Lions should pull value off them, and we'll see if they do that. And I'll describe what I mean when I say pull value very shortly. So the Dragonback Slayers indeed win, 58-11. 58-11, all right. And so it only took 101 seconds. That's actually very, very good. Dragonback Slayers finished with 1779 health, 1779. And the White Lions finished with, they routed with 492 health. So what that does there is then it gets the amount of time the battle took, so I can calculate the DPS, or damage per second, of each unit to the other. So the Dragonback Slayers did 49 DPS to the White Lions did 46 DPS to the Dragonback Slayers. Then I get this something called a gold differential. And what that is I take the end health of the Dragonback Slayers divided by the starting health of the Dragonback Slayers, multiplied through by their starting gold. That tells me approximately how much gold worth is left of the unit. Do the same with the White Lions, and then calculate the difference. So this would say that even though the Dragonback Slayers won, they lost gold. So that's not a good value engagement for them, though they got the job done. And then I look at how fast do they do it, gold per minute, gold ratio, how much did I have to pay to lose or win that gold. And the win-loss is a very important one, obviously, and then seconds per gold is something I look at when I have to compare units that are losing. And that's one of the things that I am doing is, if I'm going to lose with a unit, which gives me the most time for money? You know, what gives me the most time holding per gold spent? And that's another valuable thing. And when I'm looking at evaluating units that are going to lose, like, sometimes a unit losing is going to lose. What gives you the most time? You know, where is that value to be had? So, and then I test it 7 times. I take an average of each, and then I make some conclusions. And another thing about this kind of testing, you know, all testing is pretty subjective. I mean, I try to make it as objective as possible. The test is the test. You can see it. It's live. I'm not manipulating the units in any way. But the units I choose to test versus the other units, that's subjective. The way the data points I take are subjective, and the way that I analyze it is subjective, and the conclusions I make are subjective. So you can't really help it. No matter what kind of testing you do, it's going to be subjective in some way. I try to minimize that and make it so that my testing is really understandable, so that anyone watching can understand how I did my testing and make their own conclusions, even though this testing is just the tiniest little piece of the puzzle. There's so much more, but it's also something that I enjoy doing. I find it very relaxing, and so I just like testing. So here we go. We'll keep this one going. It looks like already the Dragonback Slayers are actually going to be a good choice in that infantry engagement if I absolutely have to. So I'm actually trying to build sort of the best lineup I can to deal with White Lions, and then or in terms of the infantry, paired with the best way to deal with the nobles on a chariot. And that doesn't guarantee a win. That does not guarantee a win to have that. But I think the backline is already pretty decided. Trollhammer torpedoes are the answer to nobles on a chariot, but there are countermeasures against the Trollhammer torpedoes. It's not like they're to win the fight. But I'm just looking at this infantry engagement. Which infantry are the best? Because this is one thing where I've seen the best players at this have differing ideas in how they actually, which units they choose and why. So I'm just trying to do some testing to see what I see, and hopefully it'll give me a little bit more information into how these units interact and which are the best ones to bring into my army to help me do as good as possible. So I don't actually play a whole lot of quick battles, but when I do, I do want to have the best army I can field. Okay, 58-36. Dragonback Slayers, 21-71. 859. 90 gold they lost again. And this is one of the things that I feel, in terms of how I play quick battles, hyper specialization on just the Dowie and real strong focus on testing does allow me to punch above my weight. And I see this every time I play in Shadow Online Gaming's tournament. I get to play the Dowie once, and then I have to play other factions, and every time I play another faction I get trounced like I'm a brand new player. It's always it's hard to stomach how badly I get beat. It's a little embarrassing, but it is what it is. I love Shadow, and I love his tournament, and I like supporting it. But it's like the other players of the tournament get a freebie against me usually. Unless I get a matchup that is so lopsided that I can win. But when it comes to Dowie, I play relatively competitively. Now I would always claim that I'm an average general, and I feel that's probably where I am. But I'm starting to get to the above average, level since Aurora Boss has been coaching me and really helping me learn the game, learn how to play in quick match better. 58-22. I'm pretty old, so I'm never ever going to be good, where I can say that I'm a really solid at quick battle. But I think that I've improved from being just your average quick battle general to being above average. Although not much. Someday, I figure when I broke the top 1,000, I was surprised because I've always been I don't really play very much, and rank 3,000 or something like that. And that was, a goal that Rook Boss set, and he said I would be able to do it, and I was surprised. And maybe we get together again, and we try to achieve another goal. We've talked about doing it, so maybe we do. 22-45. I don't know how much higher I could go though. Because there is certain limits to, as you get older, you're just not as fast. My body's not the same. I don't see the same. I never needed glasses. Now I need glasses. It really sucks. Your body just is not the same, and your mind, even though you're all there, you don't think as fast. Your reactions aren't as fast. It's irritating. I would say 628. It is very irritating for any of you that are sort of getting up. I'll say you really start to notice it above 40, I would say. You start noticing a little decline kind of between 30 and 40, but it's above 40. It seems like you drop off a bloody cliff with your ability to do high skilled things, like really competitive things. Your ability just drops off a freaking cliff. It is really irritating. But, fortunately I love testing. Testing gives me insights to allow me to punch above my weight and play better than I actually am by picking units that can perform well in matchups and that suit me and my skill level. I don't have a whole lot of micro, so I can't bring a whole lot of high intense micro units. And the Dowie are fortunately a very beginner friendly faction because they're a low micro faction, very easy to control. A lot of strategies are pretty static play, which allows me to it allows newer players to perform at a higher level because it's less risky. You play someone like Bretonia, one mistake, the whole game's just done. It's hard to make a real big mistake as a Dowie because your units aren't fast. 58-45. Which is one of the beauties of them. 67 seconds they got that in there. Very nice there. 29.94. Well, they might pull positive value there. 29.94. 2994. White Lions 912. 48 they did. Huh. Well, the Dragonback Slayers pulled positive value off the White Lions there. That is not bad at all. Very, very strong performance there for the Dragonback Slayers. So that's something I didn't expect to see at all. So that's impressive, actually. That, maybe it'll only be 1 out of the 7 fights that they actually pulled positive value, but that's more than I thought they would. Because Dragonback Slayers are an anti-large unit, and these White Lions of Trace are really a good infantry killer. And they have decent armor at 90. So I'm sure they're gonna end this fight pulling pretty good value off the Dragonback Slayers, but it's not gonna be as bad as I thought. I mean, I thought they would pull sort of like just over 200 or something gold, but it looks like it's gonna be, it might even be below the 100 mark. We'll see. 5811. Yeah, it looks like it's gonna be below the 100 mark, between 50 and 100 somewhere. I betcha. Dragonback Slayers, 1955. And the White Lions, 523. Yeah, it'll be around there. A rematch. Yeah, it's actually interesting to see how well the Dragonback Slayers are doing. I mean, they aren't a positive value. This is not an engagement I would put them into if I could help it. If I had any other choice, but it looks like they're not bad. And of course the Dragonback Slayers have all the other great things, like they're slow and they do have charge defense against large, though I have never been able to use it because I find I'm like this is one of the things that charge defense against large is a hard thing to use when you have an immobile faction, because if you set your unit just still to brace to take a charge, I find most players just run around you. They just, like, what are you gonna do? Your dwarfs, like these guys have 40 speed, but most of your dwarfs have 26 speed. So I find you often don't get very much use out of your charge defense against large, protecting your back line, because you're always pushing to try and stop any cav from getting to your thunders, quarters, rangers, or troll hammers, or anything, or artillery. So it's hard to make use of that. It's nice to have, but I don't know if I've ever used it with Dragonback Slayers, unless it's happened by accident, meaning I never even saw the unit charge into them and they happened to be facing them, which is about my skill level. 5820. All right, Dragonback Slayers, 1863. That'll be a pretty good round for the White Lions, I think. 534. 97 gold, yep. And one more. Quit the battle, and we will rematch that. See where we're at. God, Dragonback Slayers, I mean, I pulled them out of my Lizardman lineup, even though they are in my Essential Units series as an essential unit in the matchup, just to kind of go a different way, to try anti-Lizardman builds with no Slayers, which is sort of what I'm playing with right now. But every time I test these guys, they're just so good. And they're good before you get their added effects of the slow and death blow and the making things flammable. It's really hard to get that flammable off, but they're flame resistant. They get all these things essentially for free. They are a very, very powerful unit. 5839. Hey Kanger, how's it going? 5839 that ended in 5839. Okay. So 2582 for the Dragonback Slayers. 82. And White Lions finished with 850. 50 gold? 16. Okay, so they finished though at 50 gold. Not bad, I guess. I'm gonna do like this just out of curiosity. So, and they got the job done in 86 seconds. I mean, Dragonback Slayers versus the White Lions, not a great matchup, but not terrible considering these Dragonback Slayers. It is their really, really strong melee defense at 44 and that 20% physical resistance. That really makes quite a difference, you know. So, who do we got up next? I think it's Giant Slayers are up next. Yes, Giant Slayers are up next. I'm just going to save that. Bring down the date. And we're going to go get ourselves some Giant Slayers. Now, I would expect the Giant Slayers would win pretty handily because they have armor piercing. But I would also expect that they'll lose a lot of gold. The Dragonback Slayers won, but they only lost 50 gold, which isn't terrible. I mean, you would expect them to lose gold. That makes sense. But they still didn't lose as much as I thought they would. I thought they would lose more. Who is your top Kanger? Who is your top pick for Lord against the High Elves? I think it has to be a Rune Lord for the most competitive, and that's because Rune of Wrath and Rune is just so powerful. You can use it if they bring White Lions, if they bring the Regiment of Renown, but they're particularly strong against Swordmasters of Hoeth if you see them, and if you got just White Lions of Trace and no Swordmasters of Hoeth, you can use that double Rune of Wrath and Rune to absolutely shut down, a chariot and then kick the crap out of them. They're really, really good. Zach be saying, "Hey man, do you accept dwarf losses?" I don't know what you mean by that, Zach. I did see your high elf build, your recent one you've been using. Oh my god, that's going to give me an ulcer when I see builds like that. That looks really, really strong. That's the kind of build you see in your nightmares. Okay, continue. I will go and get my Giant Slayers. Jared, love the testing. You're a dedicated Dowie. Yes, Jared, I am. I've been testing for 3 years in Total War Warhammer. I've played. My very first dwarf was a dwarf cleric in 1983. I first started playing D&D with my cousins. Been loving dwarfs for my whole life. Zach be saying, Rigson killed me with it. Really? Okay, yeah, you hate it so much. I know. I mean, what do you mean by do you accept dwarf losses? I mean, I don't understand. but it's just beats Dwarfs with Vampire counts. I was wondering if you want to read. Yes. Yes, absolutely. So, Zach, I don't mind. Oh, do you accept dwarf losses? Yes, absolutely. I accept all dwarf games, whether it's a dwarf loss or a dwarf victory. I don't mind either. I mean, I don't cast games that don't. Generally, I don't if they don't have both. One of the factions have dwarfs, and I don't like the dwarfs losing. True, but I like to show it because oftentimes there's lessons to be learned there for all dwarf players. When you see a Dowie loss, if you can look at what happened or some of the things you can try and remember for your own game and some things that I can learn to be better in my game. So yeah, Vampire Counts is a good one too because the dwarfs have a pretty good advantage against the Vampire Counts. Jared, I am 100% Canadian. I don't have that much of an accent now. When I was young, I had a very, very hard accent. But I mean, I've traveled the world, so my accents have come down. But I'm still pretty Canadian. When we were young, I lived up north, and this is how we talked. Hey, we're gonna get a 2-4 and go to the lake. Hey, don't make sure you don't bring none of that American beer up there. No, you're not gonna get in my boat if you have some. So that's sort of the accent I had when I was a kid, and as a people I was around, and then I traveled a lot for work because I'm in the oil business, so I've sort of traveled the world as an engineer. But my Canadian accent is still solidly there. Not as bad as it used to be, but yeah, you could hear it on certain words. Hey, like certain words that I'll use. I know lots of people, like some people will be like, "What is that accent?" Or they'll say, "Are you Canadian?" Yeah, yep, sure am. Okay, let's get those Giant Slayers going. Yeah, Zach, be saying that. I mean, hey, Worker Boss, he's back. I know. I haven't done anything for almost 7 days. Been busy. Well, you know why I've been busy, Worker Boss. Some recent events in my life. We're working hard to do some things and trying to really. I've been doing some some things that aren't gaming, but they're important to my life right now, and so I haven't had as much time. But I do like testing. It's easy to do, and streaming is easy, and it's very relaxing, and it's nice right now. Definitely need it. Okay, and we'll go through. And Work Boss, I watched all 3 of those Beastman games, even though they were all short. I love that build of yours, that Beastman build of yours. It's funny. That's sort of the build I try to warn people about, because I've seen some posts where people think Beastmen are really, really are getting weak against the Dowie. And I'm like, I don't think so. And then when you sent me those 3 builds, I'm like, well, there it is. Those are the builds that give me fits. It's that really strong. That's that strong build with at least one Cygor just to pound that front line, and then some chariots and the Bestigors, and man, that is a hard build to beat with the Dowie. It really is. 5845. But people got to see that build. I mean, I haven't seen one of those builds for such a long time, Rourke Boss. But I mean, I got crushed by builds that were like that in game 1 quite a few times. And I think in game 1, Beastmen were more of a popular pick against the Dowie as there weren't as many factions, but I saw the Beastmen a lot more in game 1. But it was that sort of build that was the hard build to beat. With a few Harpies, just to tie down things as the engagement start. One Cygor to beat. So you can't win that artillery duel because your cannons cannot take out a Cygor. Cannons. Cygors are fast enough; they can literally kite cannons for one thing. But I mean, cannons just can't take Cygors out fast enough to really be meaningful. Giant Slayers. What did the Giant Slayers finish with? 2153. Yeah, 2153. The White Lions are going to take pretty good value in this fight. 944. 139 gold. Not as much as I expected, but still solidly in the favor of the White Lions in terms of total value. Beastmen are very hard for the dwarfs, I think, because Bestigors are a really solid unit. Like everything, you know, everything the Dowie have from 1,000 gold and under are in real trouble. And the Bestigors, the thing is, Bestigors chew through the dwarfs faster than pretty much anything because they have such a massive charge bonus. I think Orc Boss I might be wrong, but I think Bestigors have the highest charge bonus of any of the big armor piercing infantry out there. I think their charge bonus is higher than Chosen and Black Orcs and everything. I think. Orc Boss Cygor can take cover. And yeah, well, I saw that one game. You've had 2 games you sent me where your Cygor was literally in the trees, and he was throwing his rocks over the damn trees. Yep, and he has enough arc to throw it over some terrain. I mean, it's not quite a. The arc is not quite as good as say like the Goblobber or something like that, but it's not as harsh as a cannon either. It's somewhere in between. Jared, Chariots, Harpies, Bestigor, Cygor. I know, Jared. Those are the things of my nightmares. I mean, that is exactly the things that I like. I'm always worried about when I'm gonna play Beastmen. So I mean, I've had a bunch of different builds, but you know when you get really beat badly by a build, you always build for that build, and that's the one that worries me the most. A Rook Boss. They are the fastest armored infantry, massive charge bonus, and they have primal. Yeah, they're a really good unit. I think they finished. Where did they finish in my top infantry? I'm just gonna go take a look here, really quick. Where did I get that stuff? Not there. Test data 2. Where did I have the data? Okay. So we'll just go and look at the 901 plus gold. No, that's not it. Yeah, Bestigor, a 1050. Like they're relatively cheap, and they finished 4th overall, 5th overall, right behind Harganeth Executioners. Real solid unit. Like they're just good. You know, they're a real good unit. So we got. Where is that? Okay, get you. 58.45, 58.39. Okay. 58.39. The Giant Slayers, where do they finish? 1948. Even better for the White Lions there. 811. 158 gold. Yeah. I mean, the Giant Slayers win that, and they win it fast, but they lose a lot of value. So, I mean, it's like if you have to send Giant Slayers up against White Lions, you gotta do it. The beauty is, if the White Lions have lost their martial prowess, the Giant Slayers, I'm sure, would actually take positive value on that, and it would actually be quite a positive engagement for the Giant Slayers. So, meaning that Giant Slayers would clean up White Lions quite nicely, I think, by the looks of it. End that battle rematch. Yeah, pound for pound, Bestigors are up there. They are too. Yep. Razorgors are good too. Yep. Razorgors though, I don't know if they're super great against the Dowie. Now they're good if you can cycle charge. The problem is the Dowie can rampage Razorgors, and once your Razorgors are rampaged, I mean they're done. But that's not a problem so much with the Razorgors. It's a problem with rampage, I think, is and the Dowie with one volley of a Trollhammer and one charge, they can rampage those Razorgors. And I have a good game of a Wizard Lizard playing the Dwarfs against the Beastmen, where he does just that, Jared. I mean, it's not very long ago, 6 weeks, but I think it's a Wizard Lizard. And he actually, I think he plays against those pigs. I'm pretty sure he does, and does a good job of rampaging them and then taking them out. Because once their units rampaged, that is like the very best thing a dwarf can do, and that's one of the reasons why I think Manticores struggle to do very good against dwarfs compared to other factions, because Manticores rampage. So you can actually get a Manticore coming in, and you can sometimes rampage it before it gets onto the unit it wants to get onto. And if a rampaged Manticore goes into Slayers, I mean, it's just game over for them, right? Okay, Kanger. How do Ironbreakers fare against Bestigors? So Kanger, Ironbreakers beat Bestigors straight up with or without blasting charges. That's why they're really good in the matchup. So my builds, Kanger, the builds that I play on ladder have lots of Ironbreakers, because you gotta go all in on an idea against the Beastmen. And if you like Ironbreakers and Slayers, you have a good core of those. Unless you bring a build like a Rourke Boss brings, you can actually win against the Beastmen pretty handily. I actually have a game I need to put up where I played a test match against. He changed his name recently to Geese Howard, and I can't remember the name he played under when we played. But we just played a couple test games where he was trying some things as Beastmen against my Dwarfs, and I played a game with my ladder build with Ironbreakers, and they're very good against a lot of Beastmen builds. Not great against Bestigors, though. Bestigors I'm not Bestigors, oh, geez. Those frickin' rock throwers. I don't know why the name just left me. I'm old. Cygors. Thank you, Cygors. Okay, 58-55. Here we go. 58-55. Okay, and Giant Slayers finished. Okay, so Giant Slayers did all right there. 27.50. We'll see if they're probably at 50 gold. 927. 26 minus 20. Still lost gold in that. That's the best they've done so far. Quit battle, rematch. Rourke Boss, but I know a lot of players really like them because pigs are cheap and can do a lot of damage very fast. That's exactly right, Rourke Boss. I mean, I've seen those Razor Gores can be crushing. I think the other thing they're good at, which is they're kind of like the Squig Hoppers. They got good mass, so they're like Razor Gores are a good unit, for sure. Rourke Boss. The thing is, people won't throw Bestigors at Ironbreaker. Yeah, Bestigors are so fast; they're just coming around the flank and mop the floor. That's exactly right. I mean, Ironbreakers are really good, but I mean, Ironbreakers have a speed of 26. Like the only way you get the engagement you want with an Ironbreaker is if your opponent lets you have it, and that's against any faction. That's not just against the Bestigors who are super fast. That's against anything. Ironbreakers are just real slow, so you just got to hope they just run into your Ironbreakers. And so, I mean, hooray if they do. 58-48. And because it's hard to go super wide against it's hard to go super wide against Beastmen, because Beastmen could take advantage of wide builds because they're so fast, and they got all the right units to get it done. 58-48, 23-65, 23-65. Okay, and the White Lions finished with 685. 62 gold. Still losing gold in every fight, which I would expect. I would never expect the Giant Slayers to pull positive gold against the White Lions, because they're just not the right unit, even though they're armor piercing. But the Giant Slayers are really the definition of a glass cannon. They are weak to everything. But if they get in the right engagement, Giant Slayers are very, very good. Okay. And I know that'll be interesting when I see the sort of the final numbers against Swordmasters of how these Giant Slayers do as well. I'd be curious how they fare against them. 58, 55. 55. Okay, 28-57. 28-57. Not too bad for the Giant Slayers there. 923. Still negative gold. Very, very good performance for the Giant Slayers in that fight, but they still lost gold. Rourke Boss, did you see the replay where I just avoid engaging and the ROI Ironbreakers and just pounding rocks on them? Yeah, I did. I mean, it's like it's painful to watch because he can't do anything. But I know I want to cast those games even though they're short because I want to show people. I want to show dwarf players sort of what you got to be careful for. Why your build is going to have certain elements, right? Jared, are you going to cover Chaos Dwarves, or is there a Sue grudge against the Dowizar? Jared, I am absolutely going to cover the Chaos Dwarves. They are still dwarves. I know, I'm going to play the absolute crap out of them. It's one of these things that I think you can look at it from both ways. That and I can understand the Chaos Dwarves in a ways that they're still dwarves. They're still super stubborn, very meticulous, super industrious. They're still very honor bound, although you might argue that their honor is very skewed. But Chaos Dwarves still have versions of Slayers, and they have a grudge against the regular dwarves, because they feel they were abandoned by the ancestor gods. They feel righteous. And this is the downfall of all dwarves, not just Chaos Dwarves, which is that feeling of it's. You could say it's irrational, but it's rational within the dwarf mind, and I kind of understand, how they feel. So I can't wait to play Chaos Dwarves, and I think Chaos Dwarves are going to be ridiculously good in multiplayer, because they have so many amazing units. Just say the Chaos Dwarves have literally everything. They have amazing artillery. They have constructs that have demons in them. They have cheap slave chaff, and I'm talking orcs, goblins, everything. They have really fast, actually decently powerful cavalry in hobgoblin wolf riders. So hobgoblins are tougher than goblins, and they're better on wolves. So that's kind of like hobgoblin thing is wolves. And they also have... things like bull centaurs. So it's like they got crazy units, and they have magic. So you take everything that's good about the Dowie, and then you add in all the good things that are about like Skaven, and now you have slaves, and good things about the greenskins, because you have greenskins on your roster. You get magic, so it's going to be crazy. I can't wait. Workboss, you can do like a 3-in-1 video, because those 3 games in total were like 15 minutes. I know I might actually do them one by one, so I can spread them out. Just because no one ever sees all your videos, and someone might just pick up a video. Jared, it's weird calling them Chaos Dwarves because they're pretty much hard lawful evil. They're exactly lawful evil, and it's funny. I do think a lot in terms of D&D, because that's where I started my love for dwarves, and they're yes, they're evil, but it's lawful. And you would say that dwarfs are close to lawful neutral in a lot of ways. And if you look at dwarven history, they follow the law more than maybe what might be objectively good, if there is such a thing. So I know they're kind of lawful good, but they're kind of, I would say, regular, like your classic dwarves are closer to lawful neutral. They're between neutral and good somewhere is where I would put them. 5846. Because you even look at a lot of the Dowie quests. I mean, a lot of your quests say, are you going to help out this? Are you going to help out your kin against the orc raid, or are you going to let them handle it on their own? And that's sort of like the dwarf version of respect, is to let them handle it on their own. Workboss, when I play Kingmaker, I like chaotic lawful. Yeah. No, you can't be chaotic lawful. That doesn't make any sense. Chaotic good or chaotic neutral? Yeah, I was playing Kingmaker a little bit of Workboss. I mean, I played the first while they're still in the castle, because I really do want to play it. Yeah, because I never got to the part where you rule the kingdom. So I really want to get to that part, but I just haven't had time. 2150. 50. But I'm definitely going to put Kingmaker on my channel at some point. 794. Because it's a really good game. That's what it looks like to me. Quit battle and rematch. Lawful Evil, yeah. There you go, Lawful Evil. That's like a Chaos Dwarf. Yeah, you're thinking Chaos Dwarves. Yeah, Lawful Evil is... There's nothing wrong. Well, dwarves are lawful, like hyper lawful. You know, they will hold a grudge for 1,000 years because that's the law. You know, I love their trait they get, that is, I am the law. But that's the Daoi, and that's their downfall. And that's the beauty of the lore. Even going to the start in Tolkien, is the way they're described. They're lawful to a fault, you know. Because a dwarf would rather, in essence, claim themselves dead already as a slayer than to dishonor their ancestors. Because there is no give in their culture. 5906. And there's always a quest item, not a quest item, always a dilemma that's in campaign that says, one of your Barak Var's dwarves had someone who did something bad. Will you make him take the Slayer Oath, or will you let him go free and improve your relations with Barak Var? And I think that's a false question, because it wouldn't improve your relations with Barak Var, and it would be a even bigger dishonor to that dwarf who you said, okay, you don't have to take the Slayer Oath, and they would take it anyways. So it's a false dilemma. There is no dilemma there. You make them take the oath, period. 5906. 5906. Giant Slayers, 3124, not too bad. That might be a positive value for the Giant Slayers there. 830 for the White Lions. 830. 57. So the Giant Slayers only lost 64 gold against the White Lions. Not awful. That is not awful. You know, obviously it's not positive, but it's not awful. All right, so let's go get some Ironbreakers. The Ironbreakers will kick the crap out of the White Lions, I think, in terms of gold. So we'll get that battle in the battle, and we'll go and get ourselves some Ironbreakers. Lawful as opposed to chaotic, yeah, because lawful is you follow the law. You're going to do what the law says. Chaotic means you just go to your whims. You always do what you feel like doing, no matter what the law says. So you can be chaotic good, meaning you do everything, but you're generally a good person, or you can be chaotic evil, meaning you do anything you want and you're really sadistic, or you're not a friend to anyone in terms of the true meaning of friendship, anyways. So let's see what our Ironbreaker is going to do. I think our Ironbreakers will pull pretty good value against those White Lions. This is the one thing. Ironbreakers are a very efficient unit in terms of gold. They're just, I mean, you don't have to fight them. You never have to fight Ironbreakers. So they're efficient, yeah, but you don't have to fight them. You can just run around them, which is exactly about what you were saying. You just run around them and pound them with your Cygor. Kanger, how much would the Thane's charge bonus help the Giant Slayers? It helps. I got a set of tests from Gundabad 1, who did a really good set of tests, and I'm going to make a video about it at some point. And he actually tested the value of that charge bonus, and it makes a difference for all Daoi units. And it can actually swing fights, individual fights, from a win to a loss, or from a loss to a win. Particularly, we're talking, I think it can swing, along with Thorgrim's buff, it can swing the Longbeards with great weapons to beat Chaos Warriors with great weapons, along with the charge bonus and the +9 melee attack buff. Can swing that fight. Kanger, I remember another commenter saying the charge bonus actually, yeah, that's exactly, that was Gundabad 1, Kanger. And he provided the testing to prove it. Rourke Boss, Giant Slayers, charge bonus is massive. Yeah, they do a lot of impact, correct. Charge them on the head, onto Empire Knights, and they're going to melt the Knights. Yep. Kanger, at a Rourke Boss, you ever tested the Thane charge buff? Orc Boss, I haven't. Orc Boss, yeah, was a bit confused. Basically, my dude were evil and hearted mean. Yeah. Evil-hearted mean rulers, yes. Zax, Gundabad 1, yeah. And Gundabad, not Gundabad. Oh, no, it wasn't Gundabad. Gundabad has a channel. This was not Gundabad. Oh, who was it? Why is the name leaving me? Gabba Gundam. Gabba Gundam. That's the name. Gabba. Yeah, Gabba Gundam. Sorry. That's who did it. Gundabad 1 actually has his own YouTube channel. And, at some point, I think we're like, I have like 4 campaigns I have to do. And then him and I are going to try and get together for a campaign at some point. So, but I mean, I've got to get through my Ragnarok's Total Wars up first. Him and I have been thinking about doing a campaign for a year and a half. Oh shit! I missed the start of that. Okay, let's go back. I think it was. We're going to call it 51. We'll go back and check the start of the damage there. Okay. And see, they get their fight off. And okay. So they get about half their blasting charges off. This is sort of one area where this type of testing is weak, is because if you actually spread them out, they do a lot more damage on the blasting charges. But you can see the Ironbreakers believe they're winning, the White Lions of Trace know they're losing, and it's going to be a grind fest. Kind of from here on out. Zachary saying he has a channel. Yeah, Gundabad 1 has a channel. He's had a channel for a while, actually, Zach. He does other games too, not just Warhammer. Pretty decent ladder player too. Like he's got some good games up there. Rogue Boss, if you stick a melee hero unit into any infantry fight, they're going to make a world of difference because they do splash damage and knock models down. Yeah, when a model get knocked down, they don't do DPS. Absolutely true. It can make a pretty massive difference pretty fast. So 5638. And here's where you see the Ironbreakers. The Ironbreakers, that's over 3 minutes for the Ironbreakers to win that fight. So basically, White Lions are tying up Ironbreakers for 3 minutes. So the Ironbreakers, 4436. Say White Lions finish with 1114. So there you go. Ironbreakers pulled 177 gold out of that, which they're gonna keep doing that. Ironbreakers are generally a pretty efficient unit, but White Lions don't have to fight Ironbreakers. Ironbreakers are what? 26 speed? White Lions are 33? They can just run around them. And just like you said, or Work Boss, they can just bomb them with Cygors. It's brutal. Kanger, is the Thane charge bonus buff large enough to buff 2 units? Yes, it is, Kanger. It's 40 meters, and you can get 2 units easily, though you got to plan for it, and you can kind of get 3 units. But really, you can get 2 units enough to make it. You can get enough to make it worth it. Zach, we've had issues in the past I won't get into, but I'm surprised he has a channel. Oh, okay. Yeah, no, he does. He's been a little sporadic. I mean, when you run channels like these channels or Work Boss, you know what it's like, and it's just a hobby. It's just for fun, and sometimes other parts of your life take precedence, and you just can't get on as much as you like. 5638. So we'll end that battle, and we'll rematch. Kanger, if so, and the Thane does enough damage embedded into infantry, maybe they're cost effective to bring. Okay, so here's the thing, Kanger, with the Thane. The Thane doesn't bring enough buffs in general where he doesn't have to be that cost effective as a unit. So this is the difference between the Thane and the Runesmith. A Runesmith with Rune and Wrath on Rune and Hammer of Carrick draws can get all its value out of just those 2 buffs. So the whole 832 gold is what you would pay for a Runesmith with those 2 buffs. You can get 832 gold if you get 4 casts of Rune of Wrath and Rune and 1 cast of the Hammer of Carrick draws. So anything you get above that with the runesmith himself is valuable. The Thane can get some value with the Silverhorn of Vengeance, and potentially some value with the 18% slow and the 22% resistance to fire, depending on what it is. But they're highly they're very niche. The Thane can get value if they get into an infantry blob, but that infantry blob can't be armor piercing. The problem with the Dowee is everybody brings armor piercing infantry units against the Dowee. So Thane can do nothing against single model entities. So Thane is useless against chariots. They're useless against cavalry. They're terrible against to any kind of cavalry, chariots or single entity models, monsters, anything like that. And they're awful against anything with armor piercing, and that includes really low level units, like even Chaos Warriors are great weapons. But if you get a battle where you're going to get some chaff and you can get those buffs off, they could be very good. So there are potential for things to be decent, but everything, sort of the stars have to align for it to happen, unfortunately. They don't have enough bed in the or not. Wizard Lizard, hey! How's it going, a Wizard Lizard? I was just talking about your Beastman game, actually, earlier in the stream. Right on schedule, which means I'm off to work. Have a good one, people. Yeah, you have a good one, a Wizard Lizard. Have a great day at work. Work Boss, a good player will just ignore the Thane. That's true. So, Work Boss, they can ignore the Thane. The Thane can, though, get his buffs off. And if he can get into a fight against a unit that has no armor piercing, then he could potentially do good. He can also potentially disrupt backline units like archers. So you could get your Thane's Horn of Vengeance, Silver Horn of Vengeance off, and then send him to harass archers. It's a potential, but geesh, yeah, Work Boss, for Thane star rarely lines. I agree. That's the problem, is very hard for those stars to align. Now, if the Thane cost 250 gold or 150 gold like a Goblin Big Boss, well, then you could bring them. Like a Goblin Big Boss is 150 gold, and you put them on a Spider, and they will poison, and they're still cheaper than a Thane. They're worth bringing because they got a lot of mass, too, and they can stop charges. But, yeah, even a late-game Thane's not going to do much. So the stars do have to align. I just think Thanes need more utility. So I've suggested, I know Kanger, you're passionate about this too. Yeah, you missed game one where Thanes had the potion. Like I know, Kanger, you've been talking about Thanes and Master Engineers for a long time, and so you feel passionate about it just like me. And it's just, I think Thanes need a bigger utility set, and the Thane all by itself has to be useful. And it's hard to make it useful because the term that I like to describe Thanes and Dwarf Lords in general is they're really hard to kill, but very easy to ignore. And that's part of the problem when you have a unit that doesn't have utility. Now, people ignore runesmiths, even though runesmiths can get all of their utility with just their abilities, and they still ignore runesmiths. So dwarf lords and characters are hard to kill and easy to ignore, and so they have to have a lot of utility to make up for that, which Thanes unfortunately just don't have a ton of utility, although there are situations where they could potentially be useful if the stars align. 56 34, was it 24? And when they had Zach be saying, I use 2 mounted Gobbo Big Bosses with the potion that makes them unbreakable to kill Necrophects. Yeah, because Zach, they are cheap, and you have a purpose for them. Work Boss, man, I actually missed potions for heroes. There were times when the 2 heroes were mandatory. Yep. The infamous Beastman, Tim and Jim. Like when the Beastmen had the healing potion on the what's that big hero mob they have? It was crazy. The Gorbel used to have a healing potion or a toughness potion. I can't remember which. That's crazy. Zach be saying Thanes need a corpse cart +5 stats, or maybe minor book of grudges for. Like Thane used to have a rune that was +5 leadership +4 melee attack, which was good. I mean, you could actually get some value out of that rune. Wizard Lizard. By the way, I played against Aerocrastic's Beastman the other day, and he raffle stomped me. Why didn't I save the replay? You should have saved it, Wizard Lizard. Oh man. I know the feeling though. Sometimes when I get beat, I forget to save my damn replay, because no matter what, competitive people, when you lose, your brain actually sends a lot of negative chemicals into your brain, and it affects your body and your memory and your ability to actually function. Ironbreakers, 4016, and White Lions, 1127. 105 goals the Ironbreakers took off of that, which will be the Zach be saying Master Engineers either need an artillery mount or a gyro mount. There's so much about Master Engineers. I mean, I know I've done a few videos about improving Master Engineers over the years, and there's a lot that needs to be done to the Master Engineer. The problem is Master Engineers buff Dwarf ranged, which are already amazing. So they have to find a way to make a Master Engineer useful without buffs, and then you got to find a way to make its buffs useful without making them crazy. So I think it's a really hard problem for CA to solve, and they just haven't been able to do it. Orc Boss, they used to have all potion variations. Yep. Zach be saying, give them back that rune, keep the Silverhorn, give them magic damage, maybe account for the best of the holds, tendency to give runic weapons of their best people. Yeah. So, I mean, I honestly think there should be 4 different versions of Thanes. There should be Thanes with a shield and an axe. You should be able to pick a Thane with a 2-handed hammer, and you should be able to pick a Thane with a 2-handed axe, and you should be able to pick a Thane with 2 axes, and to have each of them do something different. Like, there's no reason you can't have 4 Thane choices. I mean, you have freaking 6. I mean, for Empire, you have what? At least 6 caster choices. Is it 6 or 9 or 8? That is a lot. There's no reason why you can't have 4 Thane choices and have each type of Thane do a different thing, play a different role in your army. You could absolutely do that. For Master Engineer, I like the idea of giving them different slug choices. So you have, you pay an extra 200 gold, you get a slug that slows, or you choose for a different slug that can sunder armor, or you choose a different slug that does magic damage, or a different slug that has, 50 extra range. I mean, you can do all kinds of things to make the Master Engineer useful all by himself, and then you have buffs that can be interesting, right? That are lore appropriate. Like if you make a Thane so he can heal artillery, well, then you got something that can save you from counter battery. You'd bring things against the High Elves and the Dark Elves who bring artillery to beat down your artillery, maybe, or not Thane, Master Engineers, 5649. But it'd be hard to balance, right? I mean, you have to be careful about making the Dowie backline ranged units better, because they're already the best in the game. There's no other faction that can touch Dwarfs backlined. And Master Engineers, you got to be careful about making them better. And then giving them a gyrocopter mount, done, sold. And I think that's an easy one. Like, I think in my mind, Zach, you have to be able to imagine a scenario where it'd be worth it to bring 2 Master Engineers, or 2 Thanes, or 2 heroes. Like, the heroes have to have enough utility that it'd be worth it to bring 2 of them for some reason. And then once you can imagine that with the changes you'd make, then you can start thinking about fleshing out the units after that. Because it's easy to imagine bringing 2 Goblin Big Bosses. Easy. There's a lot of games where people do. And I just played a game against Janet on occasion where he brought 1 on a spider and 1 on a wolf. Right? And there's good reasons to do that. Oops, 5649. We got 4867. White Lions, 1052, 1052. Okay, rematch. Zach be saying, or I'd say that they should maybe make Master Range give a lot less reload time or maybe more range. It's hard to say. Like, I think though, like it'd be nice. I would take it. The problem is you got to be careful about making a unit make already the best backline better, because I would rather have a unit that makes your lineup overall better than makes something you're already good at better. Because what it does is on lineups in matchups where you already win, you just win more, and it doesn't help you with matchups you lose. Although, I mean, I'll take a better Master Engineer. I mean, I'm not going to complain about it for sure if I can get that. Kanger, Master Engineers need to be more accurate and quit being obstructed all the time. Yeah, I mean, like in the last buff to the Master Engineer, they did make him more accurate. I mean, I made a video 3 years ago where I had 2 Master Engineers fight each other, and they both ran out of bullets and didn't kill each other. It was the most shocking thing I ever saw. I put it to music, and sort of had sad faces on it, and it's everything you don't want to see. And they've improved the Master Engineer since then, but they're still not where he is. But Kanger, I agree. He should just be super accurate right off the get, because he doesn't do a whole lot of damage, and he doesn't need to do a whole lot of damage if he's at least accurate, can chip away at something, although he could also do a lot of damage. But I love the idea of giving him different slugs that can do different types of damage and different types of debuffs. Then maybe you got one slug that can slow things down and one slug that can sunder armor, and you can see a reason for bringing 2 different Master Engineers just in and of themselves with no buffs to anything else. Zach be saying, even just giving Thanes hold the line that the Empire captain had, that would work too. Zach, I mean, if you had the beauty of having 4 different options for Thanes with different weapons, you could have different buffs. Like if you had your axe and shield Thane, he's your defensive Thane. You have a great axe Thane, he's your anti-large. You have your two-handed Thane, maybe he's your anti-infantry. You have your hammer Thane, maybe he's your single model, and so maybe he's your monster killer. I don't know. Like, you have different ideas between the Thanes to make them useful and have different buffs so they can be useful in different ways. And you give your Thane shield. You give your Thanes, and actually all the Dowie really, but Thanes, you give them shield bearers for mounts, and then your Thane can get in the way. Then your Thane can get in the way of a chariot and stop it dead. Well, then there's a reason to bring a Thane. But there is no, even though shield bearers are a mount for dwarfs and tabletop, and would be incredibly useful, I think, in this game, we still don't have them. Okay, 5605. Four, 5, 1, 5. 1110. 190 gold. Very good value those Ironbreakers are pulling. Oops, messed that one up a little bit. It won't be too bad though, because the White Lions are just losing right away. Just the stat differential is just too big. With that 68 melee defense, 38 melee attack is very strong, but you add 35 to that. 35. Yeah, they're only hitting 8% of the time. So, because that's the minimum. So really, at that point, the Ironbreakers only been hit 8% of the time by the White Lions. So they're just above their maximum ability to hit. Kanger, what do you think of using Ironbreakers as a backline unit? So, I would love to try it. But I'm always too scared. I saw someone do it. Who was that? I saw someone do it. Use it as a second line unit. But I think the cast didn't show how it worked out. But I could see where you use them sort of as a backline unit or second line unit, you get off both your blasting charges and then engage, you'd get a lot more value out of the unit, for sure. 5645. But then, you might be bringing Kanger sort of like a 2 Ironbreakers, or just one. Sort of like that. And use them to support your front line and then exchange them to plug the holes after you got your blasting charges, something like that. Might be good. 56, 45. What do we get? 4589. Okay, and the White Lions, they've got 1100 on the nose. 204 gold, very steady. Ironbreakers they're just value trains. They're just so slow. 4 minutes, one of those almost took. The battle's over in 4 minutes. That's the problem. Rematch. Yeah, that way they get off the blasting charges. Yep. And HE won't have their martial mastery. So I will test one of those, Kanger. Actually, let me do that now. Because I really, really like that idea against Swordmasters. IB second line versus Swordmasters to eliminate martial prowess. That's a really good idea, because those two blasting charges might be able to get the job done. It'd be really close. I'm gonna try something right after this fight. 56:45. So we're gonna start the battle. I just wanted 2 more. So start battle. So I'm curious about something. Now that you brought that up, Kanger. Our work boss. Ironbreaker best used as a screen unit? Maybe. I mean, the thing is, like, Ironbreakers have really good mass, too. Like, they have 250 mass. Longbeards have good mass at 200. Dwarf Warriors have good mass at 150. Most infantry in the game are sort of around 100 for their mass. So Ironbreakers have 250 mass. Like, they can stop chariots. They can stop cavalry in their tracks. They have so much mass. It's hard for things to pull through them. And we have demonstrated that in a few quick tests. They're really good there. 5711. So that might be a thing. Like, it might be possible to use 2 Ironbreakers in the back to slow things down. It might be. Work boss, you either use them in front or on the side to defend space to make the enemy wrap around and set up kill. You're right, Work boss. That's an interesting idea. Has to be. It has to be possible in some matchups, or in at least one matchup, to use 2 Ironbreakers as a backline support unit and a high mass unit to protect your inner, we'll call it your inner sort of kill box with your Trollhammer torpedoes. So 5711. Did I get that already? 5711. Yeah. 4783. Because if you're protecting Trollhammer torpedoes, you will engage things with your Ironbreakers. Problem is, they don't kill things very fast, but they can stop things. They can slow things down because they have such high mass. 1069. 1069. All right. Rematch. I'm going to try those right after this fight, Kanger. I have an idea against Swordmasters. I just want to see how possible it is to get them down off of their martial prowess. Like, White Lions is actually pretty hard, because you see those White Lions have that loose formation, and they don't even take that much damage. They take some damage, but they don't do too bad. Swordmasters of Hoeth, they got a little more armor, I think, but they're very tightly packed. So I can see that actually doing very, very well for the Ironbreakers. Yeah, the biggest problem with Dwarfs are single entity models. Well, Workboss Ironbreakers can stop single entity models. It's pretty hard to pull through them. It's like molasses. If they're in their 6 deep, but this is a problem with Ironbreakers. You can just run around them, right? You don't have to run through them because they're so damn slow. But they can. I mean, it's not easy to pull through. Like, if you got something with a weird animation, like a Tomb Scorpion, or Doom Flayers, things like that, or like really, really big, like a Mammoth. Yeah, they can pull through Ironbreakers, but Chariots do have a hard time pulling through Ironbreakers. They do. 5641. Okay. 56. 5641 and 4789. White Lions. 1035. Okay, so 203 gold the Ironbreakers pulled off. Like, the Ironbreakers are a value train. It's so hard to get their value in an actual battle. So here we're gonna try something. Okay, end that battle, and just for fun, so I have this idea. I'm gonna add to this a miner with blasting charges. We're gonna get the Swordmaster to Hoeth. 1250. Yeah, they only got 90 armor. Okay, so Swordmaster to Hoeth only got 90 armor. So they're same as the White Lions. So that's actually good because they're not really super armored up, but they're super tightly packed. So here is the Ironbreakers. Okay, this is just a test for fun. Okay, do the Ironbreakers have more range? So let's see. Well, they're definitely not making it to those miners with blasting charges. $30.99 out of 6,000. Boom. $29.92. No Martial Mastery. You are correct, Kanger. It is possible. So, I mean, in this case, if we're going to continue this, I would actually take these miners and move them back. Like, move them into my back line. I mean, they'd be out there to just stop a charge or be in case, but really I would move them there. Because I don't really need them anymore, right? And then in an actual battle, then I have all these miners. I still have 73 out of 75 models. And I have 75 out of 75 of the Ironbreakers. The Ironbreakers can take their charge because they have charge defense against large. Now I could actually move these miners to some other place where I needed them in my line. Defend the back line or whatever. That'd be the idea, while these Ironbreakers could finish off the Swordmaster. So I essentially have this unit of miners to stay in the back line to get in the way of single entity models. And what am I going to lose? They're going to get a few kills because Swordmaster or Hoeth are still a powerful unit, even without their Martial Mastery. But, they got 22 kills still. Not too bad. They took 20 models off the Ironbreakers and got the Ironbreakers down. 3,500 health is pretty good. Or sorry, 2,500 health. So, not bad. Like, Swordmaster to Hoeth are a real strong unit, but interesting. Okay, so end that battle. After losing again on ladder to HE, I kind of ditched my Trollhammer build. Really, Workboss? If a build lose twice, I just don't think it's good enough. It was a Sartorial? No, Sartorial is an HE. Losing a ladder twice to HE. Is that the build you sent me on Discord, Workboss? You sent me a build. Did you send me a replay of against the build that's taken out the Trollhammer build that you have? Okay. Sorry, what do I have here? Okay. Peak Gate Guard. Okay, so that's the next one. Peak Gate Guard. So we'll get get the High Elves, and we'll get back to our White Lions. And we'll go back here, and we'll grab our Peak Gate Guard. And we will start that battle. Yeah, Trollhammer Torpedoes, maybe the 3 Trollhammer Torpedo build is not enough, or too much. I think at least one. Trollhammer Torpedoes are so powerful. At least one has got to be good. Yeah, Sarth has a good animation to move around, but I mean, he's not a high elf. Okay. Okay, where do they start fighting? Boom. Okay, 5950. 50. Okay, copy V. All right, PK guard. All right, PK guard should kick the crap out of these guys. Adam Weir. This is only for multiplayer, right? Yeah. I can't see miners being viable beyond the early game and single player campaign due to the large number of siege battles. Yeah. So Adam, sometimes I'll bring miners in the early game, just one unit for knocking down gates. But even then, your heroes can knock down gates pretty reasonably. And even there is in multiplayer, in single player, even with all the buffs, miners just can't get the job done. And miners with blasting charges. Dwarf warriors are so strong. Like the early game formula with dwarfs is always the same. Dwarf warriors and quarlers. And that combination is unbeatable in the early game because nothing has armor. Late game, obviously things change when you start to see the Warriors of Chaos, and maybe you start to see stronger armies, depending on where your start is. But early game, Dwarf Warriors and Quarlers are just too powerful a combination. I think probably the most cost-effective build in any faction might be 2 cannons, 8 Quarlers, and 9 Dwarf Warriors, and a Lord. That is so cost-effective and so powerful because you can take anything on turn 1. I mean, you can even take really powerful places like Castle Drakenhof, where it's going to have really good lords, or Black Crag, places like that, because those 2 cannons will allow you to sort of get in there and then let your Quarlers use all their ammo, and then when everything's done, there's nothing left that can beat up your Dwarf Warriors, especially with all their buffs that you get through your trees and your red lines on your lords. Kanger. Okay, so wait. Orc Boss, I lost a Morgan HE list. Okay, that was during the training. Gotcha. Okay, and then I lost again on ladder with a similar build. Really? Okay. Kanger, what do you think of the Gyro Bomber? The gun can help take out chariots, and the bombs are trash, but they can help against infantry. So the Gyro Bomber is not terrible. It does have its uses, and I've seen it used to good effect in a few games because of the guns. Adam Weir, thanks for the explanation. Hey, no problem. You know what? First I'm a tester, then second I'm a campaign player, third I'm a multiplayer player. But I've been playing a lot of multiplayer lately because my coach Rourke Boss has helped me out. I don't know if you saw those videos, and it's been a really good experience for me, and I've really enjoyed multiplayer a lot more since Rourke Boss had coached me. So I have been playing a little bit more, but I've got to get back into campaign. Both my most recent campaigns are done now, with my Lustria campaign and my Belagar campaign. So I might do a campaign while I do 2-3 more campaign strategy videos, because the base campaign strategy is very different from the Karak Kadrin strategy with Ungrim Iron Fist, and which is vastly different than the Belagar Ironhammer strategy. The Belagar Ironhammer is ridiculous. And Adam, I don't know if you've ever watched Ellich TV, but he has the best campaigns out there. His campaigns are unbelievably good, and he plays everything. But he's like a dedicated Twitch streamer, and he's like played every campaign 5 times. So he's played everything on Legendary, and he does it all live. It's really, really awesome. Let's stick with this new dwarf tabletop setup. Okay, cool. I'll let you know my feedback so far seems unbeatable. That HE list hasn't come close to scratch me. Really nice. Keep playing it. Save the replays, Rourke Boss. I want to see them on your channel. Or if you're not gonna cast them, send them my way. I mean, I've got probably 50. I don't know how many I have to cast. I'm curious. I'm gonna go look at how many replays I'm backed up on. Where's my replays? I have a lot of replays I have to cast. Where is it? Where's the replay shortcut? So I guess I have, whoops. What do I have? How many items is that? 100. I have 109, 111 replays. God, that's how far behind I am. I have 111 replays in my inbox I have to cast. Oh my God. I'm so far behind. And good replays. I mean, I got some of yours, Rourke Boss. I got Brachycera, Zach Besaid. I have some from Shetland Apache, a Wizard Lizard, Umaze. I mean, I have so many good replays. I just haven't got to get them out. Adam Weir, Ellich is my go-to guy. He's my go-to guy too. He's way better than Legend. So, Legend, and well, if you watch Legend Total War, Legend has a different idea about what this game is about. He thinks and his logic is hard to deny. He thinks if they wanted you not to exploit a game, they wouldn't make it exploitable. So he plays against the game, and he plays very well. And he's he's a very good Legendary. He's a very good single campaigner. Like, he really is. I really like Mr. Smart Donkey a lot. And Ellich, because they play the game and they try and play a little more lore friendly, which I really love. Rourke Boss, Legends of Cheeser, yeah. I mean, he is, but I mean, this is the thing. He plays the game as though the exploits, if they didn't want them there, CA could fix them, and I can't deny that. The campaign is too easy to cheese, though. Yeah, I agree. I can't cast all, yeah. Just pick evenly. Like, it's hard. I know, Rourke Boss, you have hundreds of replays, too. I know you do. And I'm in the same situation. I just want to, but you know how it is when you get behind, and then my inbox has just been filling up with more and more great replays, and I just haven't been able to get started on them. So 58, 57. Let's finish this. 58, 57. Okay. 58, 57. Very nice. 53 seconds for the peak gate guard. Really strong performance there. 4-6-3-4. And the White Lions finished with 722. So 218 gold, and they did it in 53 seconds. So very good gold per minute. Like 247 gold per minute for the peak gate guard. Maybe the peak gate guard is worth bringing. Because the peak gate guard can beat... Well, we'll test it. I know they beat Swordmaster straight up. I don't know if they pull value. That's why we're doing this testing. Kanger, Sioux Devil, next campaign you can't use Dwarf Warriors as a challenge. You know what, Kanger? We might have to do something where we do a campaign like that. Where we do some sort of oddball campaign. Just to make it like that, because my Mortal Empires campaign, and I know you watched that one. I mean, I made one of my commitments during that campaign was every army would be different and themed, and we did achieve that. But I still had a lot of armies with those Dwarf Warriors. I love Dwarf Warriors. I mean, I love Longbeards the best, but in campaign you couldn't play them before. Now in campaign, the way they changed the red line, you can play Longbeards now, which I like. I just haven't played much with Longbeards as a campaign element, but I really do want to. Adam, what's the lowest number of turns you think you can kill the Empire and all Electric Count factions with the Vampire counts? Ooh. I don't know, Adam, because I know I've had the AI do it pretty fast. In my in my campaign as Belagar Ironhammer, I think that the Vampire counts took out the Empire. The AI took out the Empire in 75 turns-ish, 100 turns. So a player focused on doing it. I don't know if you could do it in 50 turns. I don't think you could. You could do it in 100 turns, though, I think. Yeah, I think the Vampire counts could take out the whole Empire in 100 turns if someone focused on doing it. And this is, of course, we're talking Legendary. I'm sure you're thinking Legendary, too. But I don't think you could do it in less than 50. I would have to see it if someone did it in less than 50 on Legendary. 100, it might be possible. That'd be about as good as you could do, though, I would think. You'd have to be on point with all your battles and your campaign management. Though I've never played the Vampire count, so I don't know. I just know that early game Vampire counts are really strong because they can raise so many undead and they get so many cheap units, but they're hard to use. Like, your cheap units are worthless in the late game, but they're pretty good in the early game. Orc Boss, Empire AI is so weak in campaign. I mean, all the AI is weak in campaign. I think that that's part of the game is what it is. Like, honestly though, Orc Boss, I mean, campaign's weak in game. 10 years from now, there's going to be no way you're going to be able to beat any campaigns on hard or legendary, because with the way AI is moving along, 10 years, this whole series, the Total War Warhammer, or the Total War series, will all be using self-learning AI, and you will never be able to beat the AI. 10 years, maybe 15. It's not going to be long. Like, ever since Alpha Zero came out, and it actually stunned me how amazing it was. The match with Alpha Zero versus Stockfish was some of the most beautiful games I've ever seen in my life, and it was all done by AI, self-learning. That's going to come. Adam Weir, just spam Skellies and Vargeist. Invocation, Raise Dead, too easy. 50 turns, though? Could you do it in 50 turns, Adam? I mean, I don't know. How long would you think? On Legendary, of course. I'd be curious. 5840. Did I get that down? 5840. Okay, Peak Gate Guard finished with 4477. Okay, and White Lions 957. Okay, right, 151 gold, pretty good in the battle or rematch. Orc Boss, Google DeepMind already doing so great. It's true. And I mean, deep, like, self-learning AIs are obviously not meant for the game world. I mean, they're meant, there's already self-learning AIs playing the stock markets, right? And self-learning AIs that are analyzing people's data and probably our voice calls on WhatsApp or whatever. Like, that's happening right now. I mean, if you talk around your phone, it will listen to you, and you'll get an ad about things that you've talked about. There's just no way. Like, self-learning AIs are coming, and they're mostly for advertising and financial gain. So they're going to come to gaming markets probably a little later. But you saw what Elon Musk was able to do with his self-learning AI. But I mean, it's coming. So eventually, the AIs for this game, both in campaign and just in quick battle or whatever, will be unbeatable. You won't be able to beat them. Nobody will. That's just how it's going to be. I was curious if someone could beat that. Oh, you did it in 70. Wow. That's really good. Because, yeah, you heard me talking like 50 might be possible, but I think it would be possible at 100. So 70 is really good. Work boss. Alpha Stars already beat the Protoss in StarCraft. Yep, there you go. That would be a good video series, Adam. I agree. I agree. I agree. I'd love to see those. I'd like to see challenges like that. I find them interesting. I mean, I would never play vampire accounts, but I would watch that because I watch a lot of campaign. You know, I missed that. Surreal Beliefs hasn't been doing a whole lot of campaign lately. I love his campaigns. You know, he does lots of mods too. He's one of my go-to guys for campaigns because he's got that. You know, just whatever it is. I like his campaigns are very relaxing to watch. 58, 54. And I like Heir of Carthage's campaigns as well, just because they're funny. PK Guard. He hasn't been doing a whole lot lately though, for campaign for Total War. He's doing all 3K, and a lot of people are doing 3K. 4282. Uh, 1018. 101 gold. Oh wow, not very good there. Rematch. You see Ellich's handicap campaigns, treachery and max 18 units per stack. You know his like it's like he is so good. Adam. I mean, because he'll play his campaigns like that, but he also plays them straight up. Like it's not like he's not like, that's the interesting part. Is he plays them straight up. He plays them on stream and live, and that's what makes them interesting, because it's hard challenge. Like, I mean, I've played two campaigns that were really extremely difficult, and I lost them both. My this is Total Dwarfhammer campaigns. So, it's hard to lose a campaign, but it's not hard to lose a campaign when you handicap yourself, right? Yeah, 18. Yeah, on Legendary, he plays everything on Legendary. Like, you can't, like, if you make it hard enough so you can lose, then it's kind of has that real feel of, it's very compelling to play and compelling to watch. 5844. Because if you can't lose, I mean, what are you worried about, right? 3805. Oh my God, the White Lions did really good in this one. 851. Oh, they almost pulled positive value against a PK guard. I never would have thought they could do that, because generally they don't trade up very good. Not bad though. The PK guard only took 25 gold off of them, which is essentially nothing. Very good. Never mods. I know he never plays mods. I don't play a whole lot of mods. I'm gonna play some more mods. Even refuse to use the save camera settings mod. I respect his game, and I know I like his campaigns too. I like his campaigns because he's so careful, and as a dwarf, I like how careful he is, and like how he thinks through his turns, and how he thinks through his campaign strategy. Like, I don't think he's good in the battles. There's nothing wrong with the way he plays there. But I think it's his overall campaign strategy that's really stellar. Really stellar. Yeah. That's the part that impresses me most, is just his overall strategy and thinking. Obviously he knows the game really good, but just watching how he thinks his way through a campaign is so compelling. I love it. 58-52. $47.92. 819. 237. There you go. Peak Gate Guard are back doing what they're supposed to do. Rematch. The mid Rourke boss, the mid with all the settlements were so good. Oh, the mod. So, like, I'm trying to pick a mod right now to play and a set of mods, but I just haven't been able to do it. Adam, you saw his dwarf campaign when he used this weird formation of columns and kill boxes between gap columns. I don't know how, like, I've seen him do different things like that, but I mean I watched a lot of campaign, and they all melt together a little bit for me. The campaign I remember most of his was his Belegar Ironhammer campaign, because I started playing my Belegar Ironhammer campaign last December, and he started playing his Belegar Ironhammer campaign about a month after I started mine. And when I watched his campaign, I'm like, oh my god, I should have done that. I should have done that. I should have done that. There's so many things he did in his campaign I wished I would have done. So when I do my guide, I'm definitely going to heavily refer to his campaign, because it was so good. 58, 46. 46. 4414. And he has a great accent too, right? I mean, how can you go wrong with an accent? 1023. Okay. Columns of melee, gaps between each thunders and artillery. Yeah, to shoot through the columns. Like, if Adam, I don't know if you've ever gone to Rorkaboss's channel, but go to his channel. He actually does that in quick battles. He does exactly. He'll turn his unit sideways and shoot down the pipe with Trollhammer torpedoes. If you want to see someone who actually does that in quick battles against players, it's pretty. It's not every game, but you'll see it on some of the games. It's crazy. Rookboss, I'm on my mobile. I hate these tiny keyboards. Adam, I thought his accent was Middle Eastern. He says it's Czech. Yeah, Slav, right? You know, squatting. It's like Boris. Yeah. He's funny too. I know. He's got a really good sense of humor. Rematch. Adam will do, yeah. Definitely. If you like dwarf style play, Workboss plays like that, but he pulls it off in quick battle against some of the top players on the planet. It's actually pretty ridiculous. 5903. But he'll do that exact same thing where he sort of make a T and he'll shoot down a pipe. Does it with Trollhammer torpedoes all the time. 58, 53 again. I wonder if we got a repeat there. 58. Oh no, 58, 52. 58, 53. P8 guard. 4057. 57. And the White Lions, we've got 1021. PK Guard only pulled 130 gold, but they did it really fast. 60 seconds. Giant Slayers did it in 60 seconds too. Interesting. Although Giant Slayers lost 60 gold. Hammers did it in 74 seconds. Interesting. Okay. So we just have the Norgleming's Ironbreakers left here. Copy and V. So we'll go and pick them up and end the battle. Adam, sick of bliat. Oh man, I love Czech culture. Man, oh man. And Czech humor is really funny, you know. 1500. All right, so Norgleming's Ironbreakers are the last unit we are going to test here. I guess Czech, like Slav, Eastern Slovakia humor. There's a lot, sort of. There's a lot of shared values in terms of humor. All right, these guys are right here, so I'm gonna put them back. Make sure they're even with that yellow line. That's close enough. And there. Okay, and we'll just pause it when they start doing damage. Boom. 52. 52. Copy V. Finish. Kanger. PK guard will be sniped by ballista or charged with chariots before they get value. It's a problem, right? So it'd be interesting though, Kanger, because if you have Trollhammer torpedoes, that has to be the primary target. Because if they charge down your PK guard, maybe they beat down your PK guard, but their chariots are going to be dead. Because if you allow Trollhammer torpedoes to take one volley, they can kill a full chariot. If you allow them to take 3 volleys, and it takes them 16 seconds per volley, so essentially you allow them to shoot for a minute unimpeded, maybe they take your PK guard, but all your chariots are dead. So, I mean, it's hard to say. The thing is, the PK card could be vulnerable to the bolt throwers and potentially like Sisters of Avalor and stuff like that. That the armor piercing. They could even be vulnerable to basic archers because, yeah, they have good armor, but they don't have any shields. So I don't know. Maybe they're good or not. Like Eumaeus takes hammerers and he makes good use of them, but he takes 2. Adam Weir, what's the point of Vanguard Ironbreakers? I could never see the strategic use for it because the rest of my army cannot Vanguard deploy unless it's miners or rangers. So I've seen it used a couple of times. So if you want Adam Weir, you have to search out Shetland Apache. So Shetland Apache, and I'm sure you've seen some of his games. He really is an outside of the box dwarf main, and he does use Vanguard deployment with Norgman and Ironbreakers. And I've seen a few of these crazy. Almost all archer builds or almost all range builds where you have a ton of Vanguard and you have 14 ranged units, and you can bring your Norgelmings for that. But I don't know. I really don't know if it's ever going to be too useful. Like what the Dowie need is they need at least a unit that can do something in Vanguard. So, you know, I don't see why you couldn't give Slayers Vanguard. It would make sense lore-wise, because they can be pretty quiet, I would think, and they got no armor, and they could be pretty crazy. But if you could Vanguard Slayers, now I think you have something, because you could bring a unit of Slayers to protect your Rangers, and you could have something real interesting. You know, these guys can kind of protect something, but they're only 1 unit, and they got 26 speed, so they're super slow. With Rangers, yep, Kanger. Adam, I was wondering if Vanguard Armor could be useful against Beastmen to help with Cygors. Like, it could protect you. They could help protect you. You know? Like, Cygors are tough to deal with. Cygors are really tough to kill. You might be able to bring some Vanguard Bugman's Rangers, and these Bugman Rangers can have a little bit of ability to protect themselves from charge if they bring back a chariot, but a chariot will still chew up the Rangers if they get beat up. I don't know. You might be able to. I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to imagine a scenario where you can't just run around them, and you could use them really well to protect stuff. 5744. Norgelmings Ironbreakers 7057. And the White Lions, 1051. Jeez, look at that. That's like a value train. Norgelmings Ironbreakers took 372 gold off the White Lions. Like almost double of a regular Ironbreaker and triple of everything else. Like they're so good. But they're 1500 gold and you don't have to fight them. That's the problem. That is the classic Dowie problem. If you could put those Norgelmings Ironbreakers on a choke point, they're not. In my estimation, there are not enough maps with solid choke points. You know, there's some maps with a little bit of terrain, but there are not enough maps with solid choke points where the Dowie can actually use these units. Like if you could have had a map with a Vanguard deployment on a choke point where you could put something behind those Norgelmings Ironbreakers and actually hit something, I could see it being crushing. But, you know. But, like I was saying, Shetland Apache uses it periodically, and uses Norgelmings Ironbreakers a lot. And he is a really, really strong Dowie player, and he has the craziest builds. So he loves trying out different ideas, and he's really interesting to watch. Like, he's very entertaining to watch. I've casted, I think, 3 of his games. None with any super vanguards, but in one of Turn's tournaments, he actually had the Dowie against Talaxalan Soothsayer, who was an unbelievable player, and he tried a mass vanguard against Talaxalan. It was really fun to watch. Didn't quite work out, but he brought the Norglemings Ironbreakers, and it was a really great idea. Just the Dowie are too damn slow. That's what it came down to. He lost that game because the Dowie are so slow. Can Gyros kill Cygors? I thought they did not have enough ammo. No, they can't, Kanger. They just... I mean, the Cygors have a lot of health. 2 of them might be able to, but it would take all of their ammo, and they... the Cygor would probably use all its ammo up too. I don't know if you could get value out of it or not. Work boss. Vanguard, Ironbreakers, and Rangers were very good at shutting down enemy artillery. Just need to make sure the rest of your army can get up there in time. Okay, yeah. Adam, I didn't test this, but that's why I always took some sort of gyro unit for hell cannons and artillery while I keep my army out of range. Yeah. Gyrocopters I've loved more and more since I've really got... I've been kind of paying attention to Umaze, who has a really strong online guide for dwarfs, and he's a really strong dwarf main and a very good thinker. And he has builds where he just brings that one gyro, and boy, that's just changed my world. One gyrocopter can do so much in so many builds. To scout things out, and like you say, Adam, to just, go and kill a hell cannon or something. I mean, especially in campaign. Like, campaign gyros are amazing, because you can just go and kill the entire artillery, or at least muck them up while your artillery goes to work. And they're equally good in multiplayer, I think, in some matchups, not in every matchup. Against the Beastmen, though, you got to be careful, because Harpies are so devastating to gyrocopters. If you have anyone who brings 2 Harpies, your gyrocopters are shut down, unless you get incredibly lucky. 5724. 6913. And White Lions finished with 1044. 348 gold. Norglemings Ironbreakers, once again, showing they are just a value train. Okay. Quick battle. Rematch. Yeah. Adam, melee cycle charge, true. Yep. Yeah, you can actually do that. Kanger, I think Cygors have too much HP. It is an HP problem, really. Kanger, you're right. It's just an HP problem, I think. Yeah, an MP, the players protect their artillery better. I would say it's true, but even if they're protected in general, gyrocopters can get back there and do some damage. Not every time, and not in every matchup, but I mean, gyrocopters can be surprisingly useful, and if someone doesn't plan for them, they're actually really awesome. But if they do plan for them, they actually weaken their army in general against the Dowie. So it's kind of using gyrocopters semi-regularly actually helps all Dowie players. Because if everyone's ready for gyrocopters, they weaken their army against sort of the standard dwarf army of, sort of a defensive position. Okay. 5748. Okay, and 7335. Jeez, that's unbelievable. White Lions, 1060. 419 gold. Freaking crazy. In that battle, rematch. Adam, do you think CA should remove the skirmish mode on a lot of ranged units? It makes a lot of sense for stuff like pistoliers or chameleons, but for crossbows and handgunners, it's too exploitable. I don't know. I mean, I don't have much of an opinion on it, Adam, because I don't, like, I play the dwarfs, so I don't really skirmish very much, and I don't know how much of an advantage it is, I couldn't tell you. I know some people. I know I've seen that idea that, should you have it? Should you not? I just don't know. I really don't know. I mean, in some sense, you should have to play your unit. But then you could, by the same logic you would use to get rid of auto skirmish, you could use that same logic to say that your unit shouldn't fire at will either. That you should always have to aim your shots, because then you're letting the computer play for you if you're turning on fire at will, which is, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if you can extrapolate that logic that far. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Currently, auto skirmish pre-battle for AI. You can currently just fly around using 4 to 6 non-stop firing. Yeah, you can, because no one can skirmish with dwarfs. You can do it with gyros. You can, Adam, and I actually have done it with gyros. Work boss right now. Skirmish right now is a skirmish meta. Yep. Work boss, you're exactly right. It is a skirmish meta because guys like Lotus Moon and Zyphos, who were in the final together there in the last tournament, are really good. High Elves are strong. Dark Elves are not. I don't know if they're quite as strong, but they're still good. And then that's sort of the meta skirmish. And Empire can skirmish pretty good. There's lots of factions that can actually hold their own in the skirmish game. So 57-21. And skirmish isn't bad. I mean, it's just a style of play. 6664. And the answer to skirmish is artillery. Artillery beats skirmish. But it's these factions that have excellent skirmish and can also have the, like, High Elves are a good example. They can skirmish decently, but they can also deal with dwarf artillery, and they can deal with dwarf front lines, which is why they're really difficult to play against. Doesn't mean they're unbeatable, but they're a tough matchup, and they can do good in other areas. Actually, High Elves are pretty good all around. They're, I think, a pretty nice faction in terms of what they can do. 986, 313 gold. It's funny because I think I've heard from a few people that Empire is pretty balanced right now, except that Empire has a real hard time against the Dawi, which is weird. I don't know how Empire does versus High Elves. I think it must be okay. I mean, Orc Boss, you would know, hey? Orc Boss, right now. Fly them around. Adam, fly them around all their crossbows and they don't fire. Yeah. Orc Boss, by the way, I rarely toggle on skirmish mode. Yeah. Always micro if you can. That is a superior way to do it. Orc Boss, the answer to skirmish is dwarfs. Yeah. Artillery and ranged infantry. Yeah. Really, really good. Yeah. 57-21. Did I put that down? Oh, 664, 86. Okay. End that battle and get the next one going. Rematch. Empire is versatile. Yeah, I know you're an Empire. You have, like, I love. You got to bring back that Never Give Up series. I really liked watching that. Empire Never Give Up. That's a great series. Hopefully you bring back a few of those, because I love your dwarf play the most, but I really love that series. The idea behind it, and just those battles. That's a great series, that Empire Never Give Up series. Empire can take on every faction. Well, I think, it's one of those things like I've beaten every faction with the dwarfs, and I've lost to almost every faction with the dwarfs. If I lost the only faction, and then this is only because I haven't played very much. The only faction I don't think I've ever lost to is Tomb Kings. think that's it. And then I've lost to every other faction. I might have also. Yeah, I think it's just Tomb Kings, but I haven't played that much. I've only played like about 5 games against Tomb Kings, so I don't. In my whole quick battles career, 5725, 5725. Northern's Ironbreakers 7029. $10.26, and I know Tomb Kings can beat the Dowie. The Dowie have a bit of an advantage in that matchup, but not a big one. Rematch. Empire can take on it. Yeah, that's what. Okay, so that's when Empire was at rock bottom. Right now, it's not about giving up; it's about crushing foes mercilessly. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, okay, so that series was right when they were really rock bottom. Okay, I get it. Yeah, that's probably like when nothing was really working out, because they were in the toilet for a long time there, Empire was. Like, early in game 1, they were awesome, because they had, like amazing infantry. They had the General of the Empire, who had, like, 2 potions. I mean, it was like they had some crazy things when the game very first launched, and then they had a long stretch where they were pretty mediocre. Kangaroo Rourke Boss. Where are the dwarves in multiplayer? Are they near the bottom or near the middle? Rourke Boss. Very solid. Dwarves are competitive at the moment. Yep. Right in the middle. I mean, I don't know. I like when I did that look, most really good players think they're above half, so they're in the top half as opposed to the bottom half of all units. The problem with Dwarfs is you don't see them in the tournament formats, because most of these tournaments you're seeing are pick and ban, and Dwarfs have a number of bad matchups. So you see tournaments where they're picking 1 ban or picking 2 bans. You can't get enough bans to get out of your bad matchups with the Dwarfs. And it's highly risky on blind picks, because Dwarfs have quite a few bad matchups. Now, Dwarfs have really good matchups too. Like, if you can blind pick and get a matchup against the Wood Elves, and you're going to be in pretty good shape. But you can also blind pick and get a matchup against Chaos, where you're going to struggle. 5744. That's why you just do not see Dwarfs a whole lot in these tournaments. Although a lot of people should bring Dwarfs, but don't when they counter pick. So I've seen so many people pick Wood Elves, Empire, Wood Elves and Empire, and not ban the Dowie, and the Dowie don't get picked. I mean, Vampire Coast almost always bans Dowie, because that's really their one devastating faction. But I mean, Dwarves have some pretty good matchups. They really do. 5744. 6880. So you would think you'd see them as counter picks a little bit more often, but you just don't. White Lions 1003. 1003. Ooh, they're gonna pull a lot of gold out of this. Lots. Okay. All right. Adam Weir, Shopty Great Bows are very strong against Dwarfs. They are, but Dwarfs have answers. Dwarfs do have answers to Shopty. Rourke Boss. CA did listen and fixed a lot of things to make Empire playable. Okay. Adam, focus the artillery, and then Dwarfs have to actually move. So a lot of my builds, Adam, I don't even have any artillery. I love artillery, but I've moved away from it in multiplayer, because I tend to do my builds without seeing the map, so I have them saved. So I find it easier just to have no artillery. Though there's some matchups where artillery I think is a must, and I do have some. Orc Boss right now, Skaven, DE, TK, and Lizardman are all tier 1. Yeah. Oh, Adam, sorry, I kept distracting you from this testing. No, Adam, this is why I live stream this. Like, for the longest time, I mean, I've done I'm probably in the thousands of hours of testing, over 1,000 hours for sure. And the reason I started live streaming this is just so I can chat, and because I find it relaxing and I enjoy doing it, and then I get a chance to chat with people, it makes it something that's relaxing for me even better. Work Boss, all the rest are equally competitive. Okay. Adam, artillery makes you too stationary, I think. Yeah, Adam, because you have to protect it. It's got its advantages and its disadvantages. So my very favorite build that I have in my whole repertoire is my build versus Lizardman, because I have one piece of artillery and one gyrocopter, and it just feels like so right, where I have the ability to draw them in and use my artillery, and I have the ability to use that gyrocopter to get around the map, and then have the ability to fight sort of in the pocket with some good backline units and some good frontline units. I love that concept of using both. Okay, oh, it did stop. 57.39. 57.39. And Norgelmings finished with 70.23. White Lions, 10.97. There we go. Norgelmings pulled 361 gold, which is absolutely ridiculous. Norgelmings Ironbreakers are just on the value train all the time. The problem is they're a 1,500 gold unit that took over 2 minutes to beat up an 800 gold unit. And it wouldn't be all that different. I mean, if they can get tied up by freaking Skaven slaves, which is a problem. Adam, bad enough as dwarves have so little mobility. Yep. And in campaign, one artery is necessary for siege attacker. So yeah, you always have to have one artillery in campaign. That's the way to do it. My favorite is 2 cannons, but I mean, sometimes I'll bring like 4 organ guns at the late game, and 2 grudge throwers is fun, but 2 cannons is the best in campaign, I think. Kanger, Norgelmings Ironbreakers might be a good pick for your backline. If you can keep your artillery from killing them, and they make it to the late game with most of their health, they will be very hard to kill. And you've seen it. I mean, I know you've seen it, Kanger, and I've seen it. Norgelmings Ironbreakers, in so many games you watch that are cast, they're essentially unbreakable. They fight to the very end, and they get some value. Although, just like you know, the big knock on Norgelmings Ironbreakers is they're vulnerable to artillery. And that's, the big thing, right? Because they're not super vulnerable to chariots or anything like that, because they have so much mass, they just stop them. But look at the value they pulled. 361 gold at 159 gold a minute, which is extremely good. They pulled gold faster than freaking Peak Gate Guard. But I mean, they just pulled so much of it. Yeah, I'm just gonna review this a little bit. Oracle Boss, haha. Some matchups as dwarves you want to set up so you don't need to move up. Yeah, it's hard to say what the best way to do it is. I mean, all my builds. I mean, I don't have. So for all my ladder builds, I probably have 2 builds out of my 14 ladder builds that I think are getting close to optimum. But I play different lords. I make sure I have every lord represented in my lineup, and different ideas represented in my lineup. I have I do have artillery, even though I play it a lot less. So I try to have everything represented so that my games are at least interesting for people to watch. Norgelmings Ironbreakers finished with 81% of their health on that. I bet you the Norgelmings Ironbreakers are going to beat the hell out of. Well, you know what? Let's not bet. I'm just curious. I think I'm going to quit the stream here pretty soon. It's getting pretty late, and I have to work in the morning. But I want to see if these Ironbreakers beat the Swordmasters of Hoeth. I'm sure they will. Okay, so Swordmaster of Hoeth. Just a glimpse into my next set of tests. Just curious. I think they'll beat them pretty easy. But how much value will they pull? Probably quite a bit, actually. So just curious. I can put you back here. Okay. Because these guys are really susceptible. Even if they're strung out, they are pretty susceptible to blasting charges. Blasting charges are so disruptive to units that are very tightly packed like that. And their charge bonus is going to do nothing. And even with their bonus versus infantry, the Norglem's Ironbreakers got 86 melee defense, which is just, it's not nothing. Yeah, you can see they got almost down to half health already. They're at 3,300 with just their blasting charges. Yeah, these Norglem's Ironbreakers should win this pretty easily and at value. So what do they start with? 8,600? So 4,200. If they finish with more than 4,200 health, they've easily beat the Swordmasters. The Swordmasters no longer have their martial prowess, so they have 46 melee attack. What's their bonus versus infantry? 46 plus 8? 14. Holy, that's good. But you see, look at that. They finished with 6,300 health. They only lost a 25% of their health, and they beat up the Swordmasters of Hoeth. Curious, can they beat the Swordmasters of Hoeth with no blasting charges? My guess is yes. But we'll find out. Those blasting charges are pretty powerful. Okay. So, let's turn blasting charges off. Put them in melee mode. Okay. And of course I'm not going to charge because they have charge defense against all. So charging would be dumb. So we'll just let these guys charge. Even though he went in there feet first. We'll see who's going to start losing and winning. It looks like the Swordmasters are winning. So as they get tired, the Norglem's Ironbreakers should come on. Oh, but they're losing badly. 16-2. They're coming back though. 24-8. They think that's evenly matched now. Now they both think it's even. Like as the longer this goes, the more it favors the Norglem's Ironbreakers because of the nature of how vigor works. They're both very tired. Now, and as soon as they lose, there they go. They lost their martial prowess, so now the Norglem's Ironbreakers are probably going to win from here. Yep, they think they're winning. And that martial prowess is gone. So now the Norglem's Ironbreakers are going to come on pretty strong. But, I mean, I'm going to say the Swordmaster of Hoeth, without blasting charges, the Swordmasters of Hoeth probably win that value fight. Although they're going to lose the battle. Yeah, there's no way they're beating the Norglem's Ironbreakers now. So, interesting, the Norglem's Ironbreakers win with no blasting charges. Can regular Ironbreakers beat Swordmasters of Hoeth with blasting charges? According to what I just saw there, the answer would be yes. So I'm just going to pick regular Ironbreakers, just out of curiosity, just do a little testing ahead. Because the Norglem's, like, Ironbreakers are so, they pull so much damn value. They are really quite good at it. Alright. Okay. Let me get those blasting charges off. Disrupt that charge. I mean, that is so disruptive, those blasting charges. And they're, right now, so the Swordmasters of Hoeth are charging, but you can see a lot are still stuck back there. So not even very many are getting that charge bonus. Now, the thing is, though, Swordmasters of Hoeth got a massive 14 bonus versus infantry. So that's going to put them up to 62 melee attack. And these guys got 68 melee defense, so they're going to hit them. And they're armor piercing, so they're going to hit them, and they're going to hit them hard. Can the Ironbreakers win that, though? Like, they only have 200 health. They're going to get them below. So I think the Ironbreakers win this. Because once they get the martial prowess gone, there they go. Well, it's going to be close. This is going to be close. 37 to 19. Well, there's a lot of Swordmasters of Hoth and not many Ironbreakers left. Ironbreakers... Swordmasters of Hoth still think they're winning. So maybe the Swordmasters are going to win that. That's going to be damn close. Damn close. Yeah, the Swordmasters win it. I mean, we'll do that test, obviously. 7 times so we can see. Okay. Work boss. If you go with artillery and get outgunned, which happens to me a few times as well, dwarfs are very at a big disadvantage because your troops really struggle to cover the distance. It's still doable. Yep, just very hard. Adam, hard to get artillery to be effective once the distance is closed. Yep. Adam, do you agree with me that that Lord Hero recruitment system and campaign leaves a lot to be desired? Oh my god. Does it ever? It's terrible. The traits suck and end up recruit disbanding till we get the top traits. You know, it's just because I know, Adam, exactly. You know what the trait that I want is I want the one that gives my whole army something. So I like getting the +2 leadership and +2 melee attack. You know, but I mean, you can't always get it, and sometimes I like the construction cost one early game just to have a lord to defend my back line, sort of a half stack moving around. But it could be better, and it's a part of the game that they could make it more interesting. So so what's a better way? So, you know, you are limited in how you do it now. The way that the new factions, like if you look at the High Elves, the way that they can buy better lords, that's interesting. I don't think maybe that's not the right way for dwarves, but maybe you could put the oath gold into buying better lords, along with buying better equipment. I mean, it would seem to fit in. Lords and heroes with the traits that you want. You know, there's maybe that you could be you could put in periodic quests to pick up a spectacular hero, like maybe as long as they're not quests that are way across the map, but quests that are doable. You know, you might be able to have a quest to retake Karak 8 Peaks, and when you retake Karak 8 Peaks, you get a really great hero that is kin to Belagar Ironhammer, which has some special traits. There's lots of ways to do it, I think. But you'd have to think about it, which I don't know. They've put some thought into it, obviously, because they've gotten better on the High Elves with the way I think the hero recruiting system is, but the foundation of the way it is right now is limited in the way that it plays out, in that it just doesn't have a whole lot, and it is prone to just trying to go and look at which heroes you can recruit until you get the traits that you want. You know, like, I don't know. I think it's a place that's open for innovation and open to make the game deeper. And we'll see what happens in Game 3, because I know that the difference between campaign in Game 1 and Game 2 was pretty spectacular. And I was really impressed with the work CA did. I loved every bit of everything they did in Game 2 versus Game 1. And if you go back and look at my first Mortal Empires campaign with Grom Brindle, that was my first campaign. I just finished This is Total Dwarfhammer campaign, which is really hard in Game 1, and then went straight to that because I was waiting for Mortal Empires to be played. I hadn't played Mortal Empires yet, so I noticed everything because I just went from a Game 1 campaign to a Game 2 campaign, and I made note of all the things that I noticed, how good a job they did with Mortal Empires. It was pretty damn impressive. They really, really did do a good job. So, what do we got here? So let's just take a look at this. So, I still have. I'm going to do my testing with my Longbeards with 6 chevrons, and I'm going to do that testing, but I'm going to do it after I finish the Swordmaster of Hoeth. During versus the White Lions, units that showed up as really amazing as Norgleman's Ironbreakers, 361 gold is pretty amazing. And they got through them in 2 minutes, which isn't awful. PK Guard were okay, but they only pulled 130 gold. They did it in 60 seconds, though. The unit that was the most interesting for speed was the Giant Slayers. They got it done in 61 seconds. They lost gold, but killing things fast is pretty important. The Dragonback Slayers, 86 seconds, and they didn't lose a whole lot of gold, and Dragonback Slayers have defenses against those archers. Like, Dragonback Slayers seem like they might be a very good pick, because the Dragonback Slayers also crushed the spears, and they slow things. You know, Dragonback Slayers, I mean, they are awesome. You know, Hammers pulled 100 gold, and the Grumbling Guard pulled 100 gold. This is actually interesting. So, Grumbling Guards are a little bit cheaper at 1,000. They pull the same value versus White Lions, but it takes twice as long. It takes an extra minute. The thing Grumbling Guards have are charge defense against large, and they have more mass than the Hammers. Hammers have 170 mass, I think, and Grumbling Guard have 200 mass. So the Grumbling Guard might be a real strong pick for the back line instead of a Hammer, because they also have that Vigor Aura, which can help your artillery, it can help your ranged units, and it can help your other units last a little bit longer with that Vigor. And they have the Encourage Aura, which is not bad at charge defense against large and armor piercing. Like, Grumbling Guard are a pretty good all around unit. The fact that they kill White Lions is really good. Now, how much gold are they going to lose to the Swordmasters? I don't know. Slayers, nope. Answer is no. Basic Slayers, they lose 323 gold to the White Lions. That is crushing. Now, Slayers are good enough, okay against chariots if you can stop them. It's hard to stop them though. So Slayers are boy, that was pretty bad. A pretty bad performance. Longbeards with great weapons lost 164 gold. Warriors of Dragonfire Pass lost 100 gold. Basic Longbeards lost 198 gold, which is actually surprising. Ekron Miners 141. Dwarf Warriors with great weapons 159. Ouch. And Dwarf Warriors 184. Like, White Lions are an efficient unit against the Dawi, because they trade down so damn good against all the units that you really like. Now, we know from testing and from some of our other streams that you take Longbeards and you give them 6 chevrons, they can beat White Lions. You give them 9, they beat them every time. But we're going to do that test, so we're going to look at the cost versus the benefit of that. Just not tonight. Kanger, in my opinion, against White Lions, you're better off using Wrath and Ruin blasting charges to take off their martial prowess. Yep. Kanger, not too many good infantry matchups. There isn't. You're right there. Adam, yeah, I love the Mortal Empires to the point I'm addicted, but that character recruitment is one of my top 5 grudges. You know, that one, and I think, although I don't know, there's a couple of quests, like the one where you need 10,000 gold and the engineer's gold gets 5,000 drives me nuts. I don't know if it's still in there though. I haven't played a Mortal Empires proper Dawi campaign in a while. One of the other things is Sieges having only one wall. Shogun 2 had better Sieges than Warhammer. You know, I guess I'm in the minority, Adam, in that I don't like Sieges in any Total Warhammer games. I mean, I love Medieval 2. I didn't like the Sieges in that, even though you can attack from all 4 sides, and you have an outer wall and an inner wall. I didn't like them in that. I don't like Sieges, but that's just me. I wish they could make Sieges easier to auto-resolve or bypass, but that's just me. Yeah, they had and a lot of people though. Your opinion, Adam, is the majority opinion. A lot of people like Shogun or Medieval 2. sieges and would like to see more work done on sieges. I'm just not one. I think sieges are you know, I don't even know if they're a must, but they are what they are. Kangaroo Rune Lord plus 2 Runesmiths and a hammer character draws plus maybe Ekram Miners for the blasting charges to help. Yeah, that's where the Rune Lords are just so strong because they give you a little more time because they do slow those guys coming down, especially Swordmasters, and they really do hurt them on the way in. Anyways, yeah, those Norgrimlings Ironbreakers, damn, just a value train against the White Lions. But 1,500 gold to get that value is a lot to pay, you know. The gold ratio is still good, though. That's the problem. Like, you pay a lot, but you get a lot. You know, if you look at Hammers, their gold ratio is 0.10. Grumbling Guard, their gold ratio is 0.10. The gold ratio of Norgrimlings Ironbreakers is 0.24. It's pretty good. You know? P-Gate Guard 0.9. Ironbreakers 0.17. Like, that's pretty good. Adam, we're too easy to cheesy A with Vortex spells in campaign when they camp inside the gate on sieges. Yeah. You know, I don't know. I don't know how you make sieges really fun, with the exception of defensive sieges. So defensive sieges, I actually don't mind. They can be pretty fun. And my last campaign with Belegar Ironhammer, I had a ton of defensive sieges that were desperate. I lost some, won some. They were close, and they were fun. Offensive sieges, I don't know. I don't know what you do there. That's a hard nut to crack, I think. Hard to make that really fun and interesting because it's got a limited scope of gameplay. Really, the scope of your gameplay is pretty limited when you have any kind of fixed objects that are going to be the same every time, because it is hard. Like, I would like it if they made sieges, even if they at least made them feel different between one settlement to another, but they all feel precisely the same. Not kind of the same, exactly the same. I can't tell the difference. They're, you know, in terms of, there are some that are obviously quite a bit different configured, but they're not different enough to feel any different. So, yeah, when Wind of Death, they just all line up behind the gate. Like, sieges are super abusable if you're not a dwarf. They are still pretty abusable, even if you are the Dowie. I mean, you just get onto the one corner, take out the 2 siege towers, use up all of your ammo, and then attack. You know, rinse and repeat. So, anyways, I think that'll be the stream. We got a little bit of testing, not a whole lot, but I had a chance to get back on, and hopefully the 109 replays I have in my inbox to cast, I can get going on that. You know, even if I did one a day, that's 28. That is 5 months worth of replays, so I'd have to do 2 a day to get 2.5 months. So I guess I can get them done. Adam, agree with you. Yeah, though. Yeah. It would be, so Adam, I guess if I could think conceptually of what could make sieges fun. So there's a game play out there which is like, I can't remember the genre, where it's like tower building or something like that. Basically, you see them on like iPads, and you can get them on your phone, and you can get some games, I think, where you just build towers, you build guns, you build different things, and you have things, different waves, they keep attacking you. And for some reason, that's actually really fun, but it's conceptually similar. Like, you'd think you would be able to make something like that by changing the sieges enough so that you could maybe place your units in different places, have different towers, have different ways of actually setting up to defend a siege. Could make that side of it a little more interesting. How you make attacking it more interesting, I don't know. I just don't. That's a hard problem. That is a really hard problem, I think. So, anyways, we'll call that the stream. Thanks to everyone who chatted with me. It was very relaxing. I really appreciate it. And, thanks for hanging out with me to do some, boring testing. Just shooting the shit. Great night. With that said, we'll end the stream. Thank you all, and I'll see you. I'll see you next time if I see you. So you guys all have yourselves a good one. Okay.